What's good, family? This is Urban Politics. If this is your first time here, I want to thank you guys for taking some time to watch this video today. If you clicked on the video, I know it's for a reason. I want to encourage you to be a part of this gang, be a part of this family, be a part of this movement. And you can do such by hitting that subscribe button, as well as hitting that bell icon. And when you get notified when the latest content is released. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. That way it can be viewed and displayed to as many people as possible to get this news out about the story that I'm going to be covering here today. So I'm here today to talk about a beautiful young woman from Memphis who tragically was murdered. Okay. Her name is Danielle Hoyle. Danielle Hoyle was a mother, sister, grandbaby, daughter, friend, etc. to many people in the Memphis area. Sadly, she was tragically murdered after giving birth 2 days prior. She was murdered by the father of her children. Okay. A man who goes by the name of Brandon Isabelle. Okay, he's been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Murder in the perpetration of aggravated kidnapping and tampering, fabricating with evidence in connection with the deaths of this 2-year-old baby, Kennedy Hoyle, and her mother, Danielle Hoyle. Very tragic. So unpacking this story is difficult. There's so many things that stand out to me, and there's so many things that I think women and men, just people in general, need to be aware of to avoid as much as possible things like this from happening in the future. So the first thing I want to say is that this young woman, this beautiful young woman from Memphis, Danielle Hoyle, she had a child from a previous relationship, a 10-year-old daughter that she leaves behind. And all we can do, really, not all we can do, but we should all be praying and doing something for this poor baby who now don't even have a mother. We don't know what the situation is with her father, but I just pray that the family get as much help and support as possible. But nonetheless, this really is a case, like, we don't know the details. We don't know what the dynamics of their relationship were, how long she had known this man, etc. But there's a few things that I do think it is safe to conclude based on the result of what happened. First of all, the child does not have the last name of the man who they're saying is the father, which reveals something about the nature of the relationship between this young, beautiful sister and the young man who murdered her. You can be the judge of that, but there is a reason. Usually, even if a woman is giving birth to a child from a man that she's not married to, if the father is active in the life of the child, or if there's any type of legitimate relationship between a young woman and the father, usually that child would take on the last name of the father. But in that instance, this was not the case. So what does that mean? That could mean a multitude of things, guys. That could mean a multitude of things. But I don't like to assume. You guys can kind of unpack that and be the judge. Like, is this man even the father? Is he the father, but they were having dysfunction in their relationship? Like, there's so many different things that we probably will never have answers to. But we're going to unpack that a little bit further in a moment here. The other thing is this. Men typically don't just go from being hardworking, decent guys to murderers in a day. That doesn't just happen like that. This is someone who had to have already had some issues in. I would have to assume that there were signs that something was not right with him, hence why the baby would not have his last name. Unfortunately, we will probably never know the details, but I do hope that the family will get justice in this case. What this reveals to me and what this tells me and what we should all be able to reasonably conclude is that women have to be very careful in their pursuit or desire for love, they have to be cautious about who they're choosing to bring into their lives in any capacity. Sometimes women, I think, have the false belief of safety and thinking that, well, if we have sex with some form of protection, that's going to guarantee that I'm going to, no, it just does not work that way. Just to be 100% honest with you, like, these forms of protection are really not protection. They tell you it's protection, but that's not protecting you from the emotional and mental ties that are going to come with you having sexual relations with someone who in particular is not your husband. Now, again, I'm not trying to be the regulator of women's bodies, but common sense should tell us all that there is a natural consequence to sex, right? And all of those consequences are serious. There's no, it's all serious. Those are big deal consequences. A few moments of pleasure are not worth the more serious end consequences that oftentimes come along with sex. But what this shows us is that from a practical standpoint, at the least a practical standpoint, premarital sex is generally, I mean, I'm going to say generally, it is a bad idea. There is no reason why, in my opinion, a young, beautiful woman such as this should be out here having premarital sex with a man who's not her husband. There's no pressure. There's no one who should be able to force you or make you feel that you need to do something that you don't want to do. And now the consequences are what they are. She leaves behind a 10-year-old child. There's not to say that obviously premarital sex means that you're going to die or whatever, or end up in this situation. I'm sure she didn't see that coming. But when you look across our community, okay, I'm talking about the quote unquote black community. When you examine the fact that roughly 80% of Black children that are born to unwed mothers, right? When you examine the amount of Black women who have been dying as a result of different men that they've been dealing with, and there's always the catch of sex, there's always that tie, not always, but in a lot of instances, there's that tie. And when you look at all these things and you put them all together, I think that anyone can come to the conclusion that, sisters, y'all have to be careful. And there's something greater going on here than I think a lot of y'all may be aware of. And the way that you can secure your safety is by being the best version of yourself, dating a man the way that is respectful, okay? Because you have to understand that not every man is going to have this requirement that you have sex with him before he determines if he wants to marry you or not. Like, not every man thinks that way. And if you're encountering a man who does think that way, who has that childish type of mentality, then I think that you need to be very, very cautious about that. But if you yourself, we know there are times when women are the aggressors in certain sexual encounters. Yes, that does happen. That's really just terrible. And it can and it does lead to a lot of really bad consequences, a lot of broken homes, and just a lot of chaos. Okay. And we have to do better than chaos. We deserve better than chaos. Our children deserve better than the chaos and dysfunction that a lot of these people, both male and female, are bringing to the table. So you have to protect yourself from this. Practically. And the practical way that you do that is by doing things the right way, protecting yourself, respecting yourself, and dealing with men of a particular quality. Okay. So again, 27-year-old mother, 25-year-old murderer who is now in prison, and a dead 2-day-old baby. I want to emphasize this before I get out of here, is that it says that he shot the woman and just dumped her body by the side of the road, and then took this 2-year-old baby, who allegedly is his, and threw her into the Mississippi River. Just an unspeakable, unimaginable crime. And I can understand the family's pain and grief, and I think we can all understand that very clearly. And this young man, people who do things like this, uh, you know, the death penalty, I think, will be on the table. And I think that this level of crime rises to that occasion in this instance. But the investigation will bring out the facts, and this will be what it is. But I just want to leave us with this. People have to be accountable for the decisions that they make. And usually when there's tragedies that happen, there usually is a series of very bad decisions that are made over a period of time. So what I want to encourage you guys to do before I get out of here is look at your life right now. Look at the people in your life and those who you're giving your time, your space, your energy to. And I want you to ask yourself, do they fit into a healthy lifestyle? Are these people who are in your life, do they contribute to a healthy lifestyle for you? Are you currently going down a path of bad decisions? Do you need intervention today? This is the most important part of the video, really, is that if you have fallen from the righteous path, from a path that leads you, that you can see the result will be positive. You can see that the result will be what you want it to be: healthy, functional relationships, i.e. marriage, with the person that you are dealing with. If you can see that, then kudos to you. But if you can't see that, then you need to identify and understand that there's something wrong. I want to remind you that we come from generations of dysfunction, okay? That in American history, there's a clear pattern of dysfunction that have been taught since the days of slavery, that was forced down the throats of African Americans, of our people here in America. It is on us now to break these cycles of dysfunction. See, I don't think we realize as a community how critical our situation is and how important this moment in time, space, and history is for us as an African American community, as a people here in America. We are at the brink of no return, because the expectations, like the way that we've already been in a terrible, unstable situation for a very long time. But now we're seeing that people who are already in this situation are actually making it much harder on themselves to attain any sort of stability and success in their lives. So I'm a believer in radical transformation of the mind. Okay, erasing doubt, erasing fear, erasing anxiety, and embracing the promise from the Almighty. That's what I believe. But to find yourself in the umbrella of that promise means that you have to abide by the standards and practices and principles and rules set forth by the originator of the umbrella, right? And if you don't, by reaching outside that umbrella to do things a different way, not as if everything you need to do is being controlled, but if you choose, when I'm to be plain with you, if you choose to live a life willfully in sin, then you cannot. It's like reaching into a stove to grab a pot and you don't have protection. You don't have no protection. You can't expect to get nothing but burned. I get disappointed when I hear Black content creators talk about issues that pertain to the Black community, but we don't ever want to get to the real root of the problem. We don't ever want to really tell people what they need to do. It's like the preacher who goes up before the congregation and tells people that when you believe in Jesus Christ, you are saved, but does not tell them, as Christ told the woman caught in sin, the most important thing he said to her, well, there was two things he said was very important. The first thing he said was, since they're not condemning you, I'm not going to sit up here and condemn you either. But the last thing he told that woman was what? Sin no more. Why did he tell her that? He was so merciful. He didn't even have anything negative to say to her, right? But he did tell her to sin no more. See, we have this idea like, oh, well, you know, we can't judge people. No. Did Christ judge her? He didn't judge her. He didn't harp down her throat about her wrongdoings. But he did tell her to sin no more. Why? Because he knows if you keep going down this path, what is awaiting you is a bunch of things that you don't want. Death, hell, and I mean suffering, okay, that you're going to go through in this life, okay, at the least, because you're going to have to deal with the consequences of your bad decisions. So we have to raise the bar, okay? Some people believe that when Christ came to the earth, that he lowered the bar by speaking the way he did about the law. But he actually raised the bar because he says, you've heard it said, you must not commit adultery. You must not fornicate. But he says what? I say to you that anyone who keeps on looking, he didn't lower the bar, family. He raised it. He got to the heart of the issue. And I think that's what we need to do as a people collectively. When you look across the community, you see brokenness far as you can see east, far as you can see west. You can't ignore it. We have to examine one another. We have to first examine ourselves, correct ourselves, check ourselves, get that thing under control. Men, learn how to be men. Embrace who you are with power. Stop conforming. Stop compromising for the sake of people that don't matter. They don't care about you like that, bro. Why would you compromise your core principles? Why would you compromise? Why would you sell your people out? We got enough sellouts. We've been dealing with this for hundreds of years, these sellouts. Why do we still do it? Why do we still accept it? I would love to be able to joke and laugh and give you guys this. I would love to be able to do it, but I'll be less of a man. I'll be less of a human being. I'll be less of a black man to sit up here and act like, oh, everything is just peaches, cream, and cookies, even if my current situation is exactly that. Not saying it is, not saying it's not, but I'm saying I got to stay true. Well, I'm talking about, hey, man, for the sake of my father, for real. 1927, Beaumont, Texas. I'll be trying to tell y'all, man, this is, you know what I'm saying? This is real with me. So we have to be able to do that. And then as women have to also understand their role, their accountability, their responsibility. Get away from this materialistic mindset that lures y'all into so many traps. This mindset of constantly being in desperation for something. Like you just always want something. Like you're in constant desperation and anxiety for something all the time. Like you don't have no rest. You don't have rest. And I think a lot of women need rest. But in order to get rest, you need protection. You need to find yourself in a space where you feel healthy and protected. And that's going to require you, in a lot of instances, most women, to have a husband, have a man, understand the context in which those things are supposed to happen. And then for you to obviously do your thing, do your job as a woman in the context of that relationship. And also, as I said to the men, do not compromise. Don't compromise. Don't settle for some raggedy, the word of God say what? The word of God is say, what do you say? Bad association spoil useful habit. So if you have a man that is trying to take your life down a path of unrighteousness, then you need to cut that loose. You have to understand the devil is real. The devil will send some people into your life specifically for the purposes of luring you into destruction. Do you not? Because this is the thing that's so wild about this. The devil knows who you are. The devil knows who you are. But do you know who you are? Do you know whose you are? Do you know what you are? Because if you understood those three things, and this goes for men and women, we would not be out here compromising and living so unrighteously, so wrong. Understand the fruitage of negativity is death and evil, but the fruitage of righteousness and walking down the right path, oh, you can bless generations. You'll bless yourself and you'll bless future generations. You'll be a blessing to those. You'll be a blessing. You'll be a help to them. Rest in peace to this young sister. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but I think that we need to sometimes hear the truth. It's not enough of it out here, for real. So rest in peace to this sister. Pray everybody is able to find some solitude despite the terrible circumstances. And our prayers forever will be with this daughter, with this young girl, this 2-day-old baby. My God, that breaks my heart. Kennedy was her name, Kennedy Hoyle. And they're saying that they still haven't found her little body. Like, share, subscribe, family. Comment below. Tell me what y'all think on this topic. Till we chat again, it's Urban Politics, and I'm checking out.